Hello, I'm Cath and this is Made by Cath Craft. Welcome to this video and welcome to my channel if you're new around here, or welcome back if you're a regular viewer. So today's video is all about sewing with precious fabrics. And in this video, I plan to share with you something that I don't think I've ever shared on my YouTube channel before, which is my most precious fabric I've sewed up into a garment. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that and talking that one through, why the fabric is so precious. And then I'm also going to be talking about my plans for sewing with another precious fabric that is currently sitting in my stash, and it really just needs me to cut it out, sew it up and start enjoying it. So I'm going to talk all about my plans for that fabric too. I'm also going to be talking about a new challenge that's going on here on YouTube with a vlogger tour and also over on Instagram. And it's going on through the month of September, all about sewing with precious fabrics. So I'll share all the details of that in a moment. But first of all, before I get started on all of the talk about precious fabrics, I'll just mention first what I'm wearing today from my handmade wardrobe. So in the last few days here, I've kind of gotten a bit of a rut of wearing leggings and sweatshirts. And today I thought, nope, I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to wear a dress because I do love wearing a dress. And my daughter actually picked this one out for me to wear before she went to school this morning. And I was quite pleased she chose it because I do really love this one. So I am wearing today a dress I made using a pattern by French Navy. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I do really love French Navy patterns. And this one is one of my favourites. It is a Fleetwood dress. So I've got the line drawings here to show you so you can see all the details. It's basically a shirt dress, and I love a shirt dress, as you'll know if you've been watching my channel for a while. The shirt dress has this round neck, so no collar, and I do really like that detail. It's got buttons down the front of the bodice, and then this interesting panelled bodice, both at the front and back. And the version I'm wearing today is this version here, where the bodice stops just above your natural waist, and there's a two-tier gathered skirt with pockets. And then the sleeve is a 3/4 sleeve with a placket and a cuff. So you can see that detail here. And I'm not always the biggest fan of a 3/4 sleeve, but I just really think it works well with this particular pattern. I don't think I'd change it if I made another version. I do quite like it this length. So yeah, the version I'm wearing today, like I said, is this view A with a lovely two-tier gathered skirt, which has a nice swish to it when you're wearing it. And I made it in this really cool chambray fabric. There's got lots of sort of motifs related to Paris on it. So love hearts, Breton striped sweaters, the Eiffel Tower, and it says on it, what does it say? Merci, is that bonjour? I'm not sure. A few French words too. It's a lovely chambray, which I always think works really well for a shirt dress. And I had a bit of fun at choosing these bright pink buttons for the cuffs and down the front. And yeah, it's just quite a fun one to wear. It's a bit short. I'm wearing it with tights today. I'll stand back a bit so you can see the full dress. Even though the chambray isn't a super drapey fabric, it does have a really nice swish to it, this one. And I'll put a picture up as well, just so you can see what it looks like on properly without me swishing about. So yeah, that is what I'm wearing today. It's a really nice pattern, sews up so nicely and nice and comfy to wear too. One thing I would mention, if you're thinking of sewing this one up, just while I'm thinking about it, is I did actually toile the bodice and I actually ended up making an adjustment around the arm side. Is that the right way you say that word? I always doubt myself. Just to make it a little bit wider, I deepened it a little bit down here. I made it a little bit deeper because it did come up a little bit tight under the armpit the first time when I tried the toile. So it's worth bearing in mind, it's quite a slim fit on the around the armhole and also on the sleeve and the cuff. I think I ended up widening the cuff slightly too. So yeah, that's worth maybe toiling this one if you're going to give it a go, just to make sure you can get the fit nice and comfy. Before you cut into your precious fabric, which is a good segue into the next bit of the video. Yes, on the subject of precious fabrics, I thought the first thing I would mention is the challenge, the reason I'm doing this video and inspired to think all about precious fabrics. And it's called the Precious Fabric Challenge for 2024. And it's being run by the lovely Whitney, who is Tomcat Stitchery. I'll link her YouTube channel and Instagram down below. She has lots of really cool YouTube videos and really clear, excellent tutorials too. So you probably follow her already, but if not, it's worth going and checking her out. And she's running this challenge through the month of September, and there's lots of vloggers getting involved. So you may have seen lots of precious fabric videos popping up already, and there are more to come. And basically everyone is trying to, in the month of September, choose a precious fabric from their stash and actually just get sewing with it. Yeah, I think it's just encouraging us not to actually really enjoy these fabrics and not feel afraid of cutting into them, because if they're sitting in your stash, it just seems such a shame they're being wasted there and you can't enjoy wearing them out and loving them like you wanted to when you first bought them. So yes, that is the challenge. I've got the details here. So it has to be a new make that you make in the month of September. And it's only one entry. There's lots of prizes. There's only one entry per person. So you can make more than one thing, but only one will be counted into the prize draw. So yeah, one entry per person into the prize draw. And if you are wanting to get involved, what you need to do is post a picture on Instagram and tag Whitney, who is Tomcat Stitchery Carmel on Instagram, and also use the hashtag PreciousFabric24. So yes, that's all you need to do. I think it's quite an inspiring challenge really, and something probably a lot of people need, including me. I thought it's definitely one I wanted to get involved with because I had one fabric that immediately sprung into mind. I thought, right, I'm going to get that sewn up. Before I start talking about that fabric and my plans for it, this challenge got me thinking about what precious fabrics I have sewn up with. And I must admit, on the whole, I'm not one to sort of keep fabrics in my stash for too long and sort of make them feel too precious in a way. I quite like having a fairly quick turnover in my stash. I find it a little bit overwhelming to have things sitting around for too long and I start doubting whether I should have bought them. And generally I just like to kind of get things with a plan and sew them up, although it doesn't always work out like that. And I only really have one fabric I've ever sewn with that I'd really classify as truly precious, because it has some sentimental value to me, which I don't have attached to, I don't think, any other fabric I've sewn up to date or is in my stash. This is a bit of a unique one, so I thought it was worth sharing, and you might be interested to see the fabric and hear about why it's precious and what I made. So this fabric that I sewed up is it's a funny one actually, because I actually sewed this up a very long time ago before I really started sewing. My mum and sister used to be much more into sewing than I was. I think I've maybe overtaken them in recent years in terms of productivity. My mum doesn't really sew at all these days, and my sister, I don't think, has sewn recently. She's got quite a busy life. I think she'd find it hard to fit in, and there's other priorities. Anyway, for whatever reason, yeah, they don't really sew these days, but they used to be very into sewing and I wasn't. They both had their own sewing machine, I didn't. But somehow I got sort of gifted, or sort of came into receipt of this really gorgeous fabric handed down from my granny. And this is the fabric here. It's so beautiful. I think it's a silk, and I'm not sure where my granny got it from. I'm not sure if my mum knows. I really should ask her. I'm sure I did ask her at the time, but it's a long time ago now. But it's a gorgeous silk fabric. You can just see in this sort of very pale sage green colour with this beautiful embroidery on, these embroidered flowers in a sort of, it's like a coral colour and yellow, a soft buttercup yellow and a dark green. It's a gorgeous fabric, and I think it was from the days maybe when my granny did sew her own clothes a very, very long time ago. And this is one of those fabrics that never got cut into. Maybe it was quite precious to her and she wasn't sure what to make with it either. But it had been sort of kept for a long time, and the fabric had got yellowed in places with age. So when I was given it, it wasn't perfect by any means. It wasn't like having a fresh cut of new fabric. And so I kind of had a chat with my mum and sister and thought, what could I make with this fabric? And we came across the idea of making a corset, which would require cutting lots of small pieces of strips of fabric, and we could kind of take the best pieces from the fabric, the bits that hadn't been yellowed with age as much, and hopefully turn it into something that looked beautiful. So that is what we did. I made this, I think, as a teenager, so it's a long time ago. And as I said, this is when I didn't have any sewing skills. So I really had a lot of help from my mum and sister, and we all worked on it together, which is really nice. And this is the corset in full, so you can see it here. So it's a boned corset and lined too. The lining is not a precious fabric. It's just something I think we chose at the time. You don't really see it when you wear it, and it's kind of a similar type weight. Actually, no, it's probably a bit lighter weight. The silk is just lovely and luscious, and it just feels really gorgeous and buttery and silky and nice. But yes, that is the corset. As I said, it's fully boned. At the back, it's got this tie detail. You've got the little the loops here on each side, and yeah, it's got a little modesty panel at the back in the middle here, as you can see, so that if there's a little gap, you don't see any flesh. It kind of fully covered like this, and you can see it's got a lovely shape to it as well. It kind of kicks out the sides and it comes down slightly in this sort of curve, and it's got quite a straight fit around the top. And actually, I'm not sure if the camera shows up, there is actually one panel at the front here that is a little bit more yellowed with age. It's really hard to show it, or maybe you can see in that light a little bit. This panel here is slightly yellowed with age, but I think that adds to the charm of it. Yeah, so I don't mind that at all. And I think, yeah, it was basically working with what we could get to turn it into something that could be enjoyed. And I think my granny would be really, really pleased to have seen it used and see us enjoying sewing it up, and me enjoying wearing it. And I have worn it quite a long time ago. I actually wore it to my university leavers ball. I made, again, this is way before I started sewing, but my mum helped me make a very simple black straight skirt with a little slit at the back and a little sort of bound waistline with an invisible zip, and then a little tie with the sort of the binding around the top was long, and it kind of came to a little tie to sort of secure at the top, I think, from memory. The skirt was made in a sort of cheaper material. You know, at the time I was towards the end of university, low on funds, and I don't think I remember it lasting very long. But it was perfect for the end of your ball to showcase this corset and this gorgeous green silk. So yes, you can probably understand why that is quite precious to me. I haven't worn it since, but I've kept it in my sort of wardrobe. And actually, when I got it out this morning for this video, my daughter was just sort of, yeah, she loved the fabric. She was sort of touching it and saying it's beautiful. And I think she quite liked the idea of wearing it herself one day, which would be lovely if she does want to. Then it feels like a real family heirloom then, in a way, handed down from my granny, the fabric, and turned into something that maybe someone else might enjoy in the future. So yeah, and I guess the lovely thing about a corset is the fit isn't totally critical, you know, there's some wiggle room there in terms of how tight you pull it at the back. So yeah, that is my one make that I made using very precious fabric. I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about it. Yeah, I feel quite impressed. I actually made this this time. It's a bit like looking back at a university essay or something and thinking, did I actually write that? Did I actually make this? I know I had a lot of help. But yeah, I'm glad I turned it into a garment that just does feel quite timeless and does really showcase the beautiful fabric. So that is what I wanted to share first. Oh, and in terms of the sewing pattern that we used to start this corset, I just realised I hadn't mentioned that at all. And the reason for that is, unfortunately, I don't know what pattern we used. Like I mentioned, this corset was sewn up a very long time ago. I definitely don't have that pattern anymore. I don't know what happened to it. I do remember it was a big four style or format of pattern, and that probably is likely to be the case anyway, because this corset was sewn up so long ago. I don't think a lot of the indie pattern companies would have been around then anyway. I think they came later. So yes, unfortunately, I can't share the pattern, but it is beautiful. All the details, little fabric loops here at the back, and then the shape of the individual pieces to form the corset. They're so clever how they all come together and create such a beautiful shape, I think. So yeah, I'm really proud of this one. I'm so glad to have used that fabric. So that is my only real very, very precious fabric that I've sewn up. Yeah, and yeah, I really love that. It was nice getting it out today actually and looking at it again, because I haven't had it out for quite a while. But I'll move on now to sharing with you my current precious fabric that I want to sew up for this challenge this month. This fabric doesn't have any sentimental value, but it's precious purely because it was a bit expensive when I bought it, and it's one I just really love, and I want to get it sewn up. So I thought it was a perfect contender for this challenge, and I feel like it just really needs to be sewn up. So you'll have seen this fabric before, because I think I've talked about it in a couple of videos in recent months or the last year or two, and every time I kind of agonise over what pattern to make, and then I sort of put it back in the drawer and think, I can't decide, I'll leave it a bit longer. I would like to get it sewn up though, and I haven't. And now this is the month, I know what pattern I want to sew up. I just need to get around to sewing it up. So I'll show you the fabric first. Like I said, it might look familiar if you are an existing viewer. It's this really gorgeous Tencel twill fabric by Meets Milk. I've got quite a decent amount of it. I think I might have 2.5 meters at least. And I bought it ages and ages ago from Minerva. I'm not sure if they've got this still in stock. I think they do stock quite a lot of the Meet Milk fabrics, and probably this one too, but I'm not sure about this colourway. But I'll link what they do have down below, because I think I have seen it still there, because I do love having a browse the Meet Milk fabrics. I just think they're lovely. So it's this kind of two-tone check in 2 different shades of forest green, 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 different shades of forest green to create the check. I love the colours. I think they're really lovely and wintry, and I do like a dark green. I like wearing it. It's a colour I feel good wearing. And yeah, it's quite a weighty fabric. It's got a lovely drape to it. I'm not used to sewing with a more weighty drapey fabric. I guess I'm used to sewing with either lightweight viscose fabrics, or if I'm sewing with something more weighty, it'll be on a woven garment, it'll be something a bit more structured and crisp, like a chambray or a cotton lawn or something like that. So yeah, I think because it's weight, I initially thought I might like to make a shirt dress, and I actually even thought about this Fleetwood dress pattern, but I just think because it's a bit weighty, it might just not sit so right as a shirt dress. I think, yeah, it doesn't feel like the right way to go. I wasn't sure. So although I had in mind maybe this dress at first, I kind of discounted it, and I know what I'm going to make. And I think it will hopefully be a really nice match. And what I'd like to make is this pattern here, the Davenport dress pattern by Friday Pattern Co., which is a pattern that I've made a couple of times before, and I really enjoy wearing my Davenport dresses. So I know it's a pattern I love. So I've kind of essentially twirled it a couple of times already. So I know when I cut into this fabric, that I know I love the pattern. I have made it before. I did make it actually once in a cotton lawn, which I didn't actually like. I found it was too crisp for this pattern. But I made it a couple of times in a viscose, a more drapey fabric, and I think it works really well. And I'm hoping that this fabric will be a bit weightier. Well, when it has the same effect with the viscose, but it'll be a bit more cosy for winter. So it'll be a really wintry Davenport dress. But yeah, this is a Davenport dress by Friday Pattern Co. It's got a really cute dress with lots of details. It's got a lot going on. It just creates a really pretty shape. So it's got this blousy bodice with this elasticated neckline that kind of creates sort of a little bit of gathering there. And this interesting sort of yoke at the back, and this sort of little sort of yokes, I don't really call them yokes, these little bits here at the front to create this sort of shaping there to the bodice. Then it's gathered in at the waist with a tie. I guess you could use elastic as well. I've always gone for the tie, but it's sort of pulled in nicely there to cinch in the waist. Then it's got a 2-tier swishy skirt with these little sort of slash seam pockets. And then it's got a little flutter on the shoulder here. And then these kind of quite balloon sleeves with a little frill cuff at the bottom that's created by adding a little elastic channel and pulling in above the frill. So yes, lots going on, lots of gathering. It's a bit of a more involved make, just because there are quite a few pattern pieces to cut, and yeah, quite a lot of gathering. And I think with this pattern, it's worth spending time over making sure the gathering's nice and even, so the dress sits really nicely and looks really smart when it's finished. I'm not sure with this fabric if I'm going to add the little flutter shoulder. I'd love opinions on that. I thought maybe it'll be better to keep it a bit more simple, and because it is a little bit more weighty, maybe just leave that off. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think on that little detail. And other than that, I'm going to make a couple of alterations to the dress that I usually do when I make the Davenport, which is to reduce the volume in the sleeves, because I'm not a big fan of the big sleeve on me. So I'm going to reduce the volume in the sleeve, and I think I've altered the skirt length a little bit in the past. I can't remember what I've done. I've got pattern pieces. I've either added a bit to one tier and taken away the other tier. I can't remember. But I've kind of got this dress down to a T in terms of how I like it. So hopefully it should be quite a straightforward one. It's obviously got a bit of a check, so I need to be careful in terms of cutting the fabric out to make sure everything's cut out nice and neatly. There's obviously an opportunity to have a play with the check. For example, on the back yoke, you could cut it so the check's like this rather than like this. Can't think of the words, so I thought I'd share the symbols. So I might think about doing that. I'm not sure whether I just want to keep it really simple though. But yeah, I'm sewing this fabric up. I'm making the Davenport dress and I'm going to enjoy it. And And yeah, I think it might be one of the oldest fabrics I do have in my stash, and it is one I have talked about quite a lot. So apologies for me talking about it quite a lot, but I'm really looking forward to sewing it up this month for the Precious Fabric Challenge. It's definitely a good opportunity to get it sort of, sewn up. It's all washed. This beautiful Christmassy red overlocker thread on it. I don't know how it'll be to sew light with. I'm not sewn with a tencel twill before. It's got a lovely twill. Can you see it on the camera? I don't know. It's got this little, you can see little twill diagonal lines on it. It's a really lovely fabric. It's really soft. I can see it'll be really nice and comfy and cozy to wear, and definitely a nice wintry one. So yes, that is my plan. So I'm hoping I've still got a bit of time to now start to get it cut out and sewn up. I really hope I can meet the deadline of the end of September and I can be sharing my version with you soon. But yes, that is my plan for the Precious Fabric Challenge. Very simple, one fabric, one pattern, just get it done. So yes, wish me luck getting that sorted. It feels good to make a decision actually, rather than be dithering over it anymore. So yes, that is what I'm planning to sew. Do get involved in the Precious Fabric Challenge if you fancy, and pick out a fabric that you've been sort of putting off sewing up, and sew it up and enjoy it. I think it's a really great way to celebrate those fabrics. And do let me know if you are joining in and what fabric you're sewing with. I'd love to hear why your fabric is precious to you. And also do check out the other vloggers getting involved in this vlogger tour. As I said, that I've seen a few pop up already and there are plenty more to come. So lots of lovely videos to watch, so having a little peek inside people's fabric stashes, I think. But thank you very much for joining me for my video. I do really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed the video, then I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, then please do subscribe. And if you press the bell icon too, that means you'll be notified when my future videos come out. So thank you very much for joining me today. Happy sewing if you decide to join with the Precious Fabric Challenge, or happy sewing with whatever's on your sewing table at the moment. And I'll look forward to seeing you again for another video soon. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.